I've just tested all the LED lights on the ceiling. I'm happy that they're all working. So I've got 7 LED lights in total. I've got 2 at the back, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 along the center, and then I have 1 just right here beside the camera, beside the sliding door here. And that's so when you come in the sliding door that you can touch the lights straight away. So they're touch sensitive. It's important to make sure all the lights are working before I put on the cladding. And as you can hear in the background, I've got a Bluetooth speaker. In total, I think they're 80 watts or something like that, but they're really powerful speakers. That's the Bluetooth speaker that I have, and what I've done is I've converted it from 240 volt to 12 volt. So it's now hooked into my 12 volt fuse box, and I just have these cables hooked into the Bluetooth device. What I've got to do now is find a location for these speakers. There's 2 of them. They don't take up much room, but there is a bit of depth in the back of them. So I've got to find a place and then take out the insulation and then seal that up with some foil tape. And then sit these will then recess into the cladding on the roof. That's the reason I've got them hooked up, is so I can actually place them around the van and see where I think it's going to be best to have the 2 of them. I'm thinking of having one at the back of the van beside the bed, because if you're watching something in bed and you want to listen to, you want good speakers, if you're watching Netflix or anything like that, you can have a speaker right beside you. And then I'm thinking maybe to have the other one around here. The reason I'm thinking here is because there's going to be a dinette area just here. I think it would be nice just to have the speaker here, and if it's Bluetooth, so if you were taking any calls or you were working or anything, if you're on Zoom or you're doing whatever, you could then use that speaker, and also you could listen to music there while you're eating. So I'm thinking that's probably a good spot for it there. That's the speaker. All I did to convert them to 12 volt was they come with a 3-pin plug. The plug is also the converter, so it converts, if that's the right word, the plug converts the 240 volt to the DC power within the plug. So all I did was just cut the lead. Before I cut the lead, what I did was I stripped the insulation off the cable, and then I put a voltmeter to the 2, because there was 2 cables coming out of this plug socket, 3-pin plug socket, and I wanted to know which one was the 12 volt, which one was the live, the red 12 volt cable, because the 2 of them were just black. There was no indication of which was plus or which was minus or anything like that. So I needed to know which one was plus and which one was minus, because you've got to get that right for your fuse board. Otherwise, if you put them in the wrong way around and you mix them up, what happens is, because it happened to me the first time, is you blow up the Bluetooth speaker device. So I got it right the second time, because I asked an electrician and they told me this was the way to do it. So now I've got my Bluetooth speakers running off 12 volt supply. I'll just show you what these speakers are hooked up to, the Bluetooth device. I will show you then how that's running to the fuse box. So the way these speakers are hooked up is you've got your 2 connections in the back, your positive and negative cable, and they run then into a positive and negative on the Bluetooth device, and then that's then powered. There's this pin, and this was just a lead that was then attached, that ran, and it was attached to a 3-pin socket with it was like a big 3-pin socket. It was like a converter, if that's the right word. And then I just cut that, and what I did was, but before I cut it, what I did was I separated them, and I removed the outside plastic, and I put my meter on it. I wasn't able to determine which cable was the 12 volt when I plugged it into the wall. When I was putting the live probe, it wasn't telling me which one was which. So I asked an electrician which cable is the 12 volt, because there's two cables there in the one, and it's not clearly marked. So what you do is you get your probe, you get your live probe, you stick it in there, and then what you do is you put your negative probe on either wire just to test which one, and then that will tell you which one is 12 volt, and it popped up on the voltmeter that it was the actual cable. I don't know if you can see that with the writing on it there. That was the 12 volt cable. So that was the live, the red cable. Now this means nothing to me because I'm not an electrician, but this is what I was told, and I figured it out with the help of an electrician, and he told me. Then once I knew which one was live, I marked that with the red, and then what I did was I crimped them to some 2-core cable, 1.5 mil I think it was. So that's where I cut it. I left a good bit of cable so I can then run this cable later, and then that cable then runs to the fuse box. You've got your negative black here, and you've got your positive there. Then that means that I can actually run this cable, because I've left quite a lot of cable. I can then run it down along here, down under the bed, and the wardrobe, see where that the 240 volt cable is coming out, the wardrobe is going to be going there, so I can run the cable up the inside of the wardrobe, and then I can actually put this Bluetooth device into the wardrobe, so it's more central in the van rather than having it at the back of the van. Yeah, so I hope I've explained that makes some bit of sense. Now what I've got to do, as I said, is I've got to locate a place on the roof, cut out for that, and then seal it up with the foil tape. I have it recessed out into the insulation, and that will allow the speaker just to sit in there. When I have the cladding on, I will drill a hole to the size of that speaker, and then I will run the wires from this section here as far as here, and I'll run them along in here, and then I'll drop them down through the cladding, and then that will allow me to connect it onto positive and negative on the speaker, and then screw it on to the cladding like that. A good way to get the exact depth all the way around that you want in a recess for like a speaker or a light or anything like that is just to grab your square and then adjust it, and what you do then is you put this against the actual insulation. Once you have it cut out with the Stanley knife and you have the bulk of it taken out, well then what you can do is you can even it out, and you can get a really good level surface by using your square. I know it's just a simple idea, but it might work for you. The next thing to do to that recess is to cover it with the foil tape, and I'm going to do that now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you what I've done with the ceiling and how I've prepared it for the cladding. So I basically put a vapor barrier on the entire ceiling using this superfoil tape, and I sealed up any joints in the ceiling to then form a total vapor barrier all along the ceiling. And as you can see, this LED light here, I installed them all and I tested them all to make sure they're all working before I actually put on the cladding, because I don't want to put up the cladding and then realise that the connections aren't hooked up properly. So I hooked up all the LED lights. I cut out for the speaker, so I've got a speaker just here, just right there close to the sliding door, and I've also got a speaker just back there above the bed. So I'll just give you a look. So this is the cable. I've run all these lights from the battery at the back here, so I've got the 3 batteries. There's a cable running up and it runs along this channel, connects this LED light. Then I've taken a link from them using these, I don't know what they're called, they're joiners. I'll put the link anyway in the description so you can have a look at them. They're a bit more expensive than the regular ones, but they're the easiest. You basically pop it up and then it snaps down. So I use a three-way there, 2 of them, and you connect all your black into one, and then you connect all your positive into the other, and then you hook up one LED light, then run a cable from that down along here, down along that channel, and then to the next one, and that's this one here. So what I'm going to do is, now that I've tested them, I can release the cables from the LED light, and then just remove the LED light. I don't need that up there when I'm putting up the cladding. So what I'll do then is when I'm installing the cladding, I'll just drill a small hole so I can run these cables through, or these connectors I can pop them through the hole. Then right beside that you have the recess for the Bluetooth speaker, just like that, and you can see I've also cut out a bit for where the positive and negative cables connect, and I'll just run them straight along the roof. So that runs, the LED light runs from there along, that cable runs along down by the back skylight, and then up the center the cable comes out here, connects to this LED light, attaches to that, then that runs to the next one, to the next one, then to the next one, and then to the one beside the sliding door, and it ends up inside in the bathroom here, in the shower there. And I've sealed up all around the max fan there. When I recessed out for these LED lights, I also put foil tape with the recesses, just to give that a total seal. And the same with this bulkhead here, I sealed it all. Now that the ceiling is all sealed with the vapor barrier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the cladding, but at first I've got to see what length screws I need, because I'm going to be screwing into the 12mm plywood battens that are running along the ribs of the van, and I've got to figure out exactly what screw will fit. I'm thinking maybe 16mm screw, and I'm going to use these brass, I think they're like they're called button caps, and that's going to just give the screw a finish. Rather than doing a countersink and then filling it in with wood filler, I want to be able to access the cladding, that if anything ever goes wrong, that I can just take off a section of the cladding and get to the LED lights. So that's the plan. I'm going to cut the 7mm cladding and then test it, screw it onto a 12mm piece of ply, and see the exact length of screw that I need to install the cladding. So let's do that.